Hello guys, I think even the most optimistic people understand now that Russia does not want peace. And there will be no ceasefire or no real negotiations. Once again, because Russia wants war. We clearly see that they are preparing for a new offensive on Ukrainian regions like Kharkiv and Sumy. And what makes it more obvious, even German intelligence confirms that Putin is getting ready to attack NATO by 2029. And that is why all realistic countries want to strengthen their military and also to help Ukraine defeat Putin while he is still in our country. That's the plan that Ukrainian armed forces implement on a daily basis by targeting Russian military objects and neutralizing the invaders. Let's discuss what this summer prepares for us, Europe, and the world from an ordinary but experienced Ukrainian perspective. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. And let's start with a question. What changed since the start of Donald Trump's presidency? He kept repeating that he will end Russian war in Ukraine in 24 hours. I do understand that was a metaphor, but now, after 100 days, we clearly see there are no changes apart from one and bad. The fact that Trump broke Putin's political diplomatic isolation. All the other things, starting with Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and finishing with their continued military infantry attacks on new Ukrainian settlements, remain the same. Only Putin returned back to this negotiations process. Trump keeps calling him, Witkoff keeps visiting him, and that is definitely bad. Oh, and I have forgotten about another important component, and that is global chaos, when even Trump's friends and Trump's advisors cannot predict what he will say the next day. Russia has the same plan. It wants to occupy Ukraine and then to continue with other countries on the way to restore this monstrous USSR. And believe me, Putin's vision of the future of Europe and the world is definitely the one you won't like. Talking about Ukraine, of course, we are way more attentive than we were back in 2022. And that is just because of the normalcy bias. When you believe nothing that big is possible in the 21st century, I literally could not imagine, aircraft dropping bombs on every Ukrainian regional center. But that's the reality of these 3 years. And it's quite obvious that with the new wave of mobilization, Putin wants to get more soldiers that will later be neutralized on the front lines. Because I think by May, they will reach 1 million Russians in hell. But they want to attack more Ukrainian regions because they feel that it's really easy to manipulate people like Witkoff by demanding more and more of the Ukrainian regions to become a part of Russia just because crazy Putin keeps repeating and rewriting his constitution. It doesn't work like that in a healthy world. We all know that Putin wants Donetsk-Luhansk region, temporarily occupied Crimea, and Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, which are mainly controlled by the legitimate government of Ukraine. But they keep repeating they changed Russian constitution. Well, I'm sorry you did that many years ago when you actually allowed Putin to keep being re-elected forever. And right now they will prepare attacks on Kharkiv region, on Sumy region, and potentially on Dnipropetrovsk. We are prepared. We have a lot of soldiers protecting these territories, and that is another reason why Ukrainian soldiers are now in Kursk and Belgorod regions of the Russian Federation. Yes, to prepare this gray buffering zone, but on the Russian side, and to protect Sumy and Kharkiv from constant attacks on civilian infrastructure. Remember to subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine. This means a lot. And share these videos if you share my opinion. So, Ukrainian armed forces are prepared. The conscription continues. I hope the support of our partners will continue. There is definitely a moment in future when Trump will have to decide what to do, because the support that we receive right now, and please do not think about money, we don't need money, we need ammunition. And the majority of things that we receive is outdated ammunition that later is substituted for your countries by something better. And what we get, a possibility to stop Russia here, and of course, invaluable experience that can in future be shared with your armies, making you stronger. And there will be a moment in time when Trump will have to decide what to do to continue the military support of Ukraine, which is actually good for the American economy, for the American weapons producers, or we will have to fight on our own with the support of the European Union. And trust me, Ukrainians plan to continue fighting no matter what, because we know what life under Russia is, and we know what happens to people on the temporarily occupied territories, and nobody wants this kind of life. Once again, I know what Russia is on the experience of many generations of my relatives, so no, it's not a NATO-provoked war. Russia was trying to destroy my country, my nation, my language, my culture long before NATO was created. And I believe more and more people, especially those that neighbor Russia or were once occupied by the Soviet Union, understand what I mean. What is good, that right now Germany, France, Britain, Denmark, Norway, they keep talking about this need to become stronger and the danger of Russian attack on NATO countries if they are not stopped here. Once again, nobody wanted Ukraine to become a battlefield. You don't wish that for your country, for your home, but we have no choice. And I think we are pretty successful, taking into account that we are fighting against the country that described itself as the second strongest army in the world, that planned blitzkrieg, and now it continues for 3 years with the support of China, North Korean soldiers on the ground, Iran supplying drones, and so on and so forth. And now literally they are trying to persuade the United States, the White House, to support Russia too. So they don't seem to be very successful, but they sure need wars. They want to destabilize NATO. They want to undermine this support and understanding between democratic countries to make us weaker. And for Russia, war is the way to survive. They have millions and millions and millions of very poor people. Military service and money they can get there is a blessing. Plus, for authoritarian leaders, a militarized society or population is the best background to stay in power. It's really easier to command people who are trained to constantly, obey. But if you look at these Russian soldiers on the front lines, you can clearly see the majority of them come from very poor backgrounds. You can see they are malnutritious. They are not looking good. And of course, this also makes their army weaker, because it's not only about the numbers of people. And right now they have close to like 1.5 million, twice more than they had at the start of the attack. But the quality, the strength, the health, the mental state of army is also important. And why? Why are you in that army? In Ukraine, people defend the motherland, and the level of your motivation is very high. In Russia, these are looters, rapers, and yes, war criminals. And those of you who feel sorry for them, remember, every Russian soldier has a choice to cross or not to cross the Ukrainian border. And those who cross accidentally get into hell. Almost 1 million there already. Guys, I have a new channel, Anna Danilchuk, where I share my personal civilian experience, and this time a new video is about food in Ukraine, because I received a lot of questions where you want to know, do we have any problems with food supplies? Are there any shortages? And what are the egg prices in Ukraine? So check the video to get your answers, and always let me know in the comments below what would you like to see next. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. I'm very grateful for that. Check our merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Join me on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Discord. And most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!